Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Bree, and today I'm doing a retrospective on the children's program Reboot. Reboot is a fun cartoon, air quotes cartoon, CGI animated cartoon that was made in the early 90s. I want to say 92, 93, 94, in that ballpark. Made by Mainframe Entertainment that predates Beast Wars, but this was their this was their resume. This was how they got the job to do Beast Wars. So a nice fun little tidbit there for you. As far as I know, Reboot was the first full-length, 22-minute, full television production that was fully CGI animated. It got a full season. I don't know how many episodes were in season 1, but it was like a full, here we go, let's do this. Up to this point, you may have had Toy Story at this point, I don't know, when the timeline, but most CGI was used as, like, in snippets as special effects in films, and occasionally as a tech demo in, like, commercials, but not very often because it was hella expensive. So this was a big risk, this TV show. So what is Reboot? Well, Reboot takes place inside the virtual world of a computer. So if you've already seen The Matrix, or Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, the Fox Kids show, or Ghost Rider, or what's the other one I was going to reference? I already forgot. Whatever. If you've seen any of those shows, you kind of have an idea of what Reboot is. Oh, Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, that was the other one. Basically, it's this imaginary virtual world that exists inside the computer. We've seen this in the other shows I just mentioned. So you have an idea of what it is. You have computer programs who basically run around living their lives doing computer program things. You have a bad guy who is a computer virus who is spreading computer viruses around. And so the heroes are like superheroes who are fighting the computer virus. Now, you have a side quest in most episodes. The user, the outside user, the human on the outside world typing away on the keyboard of the computer sometimes plays a video game. And so whenever that happens, a video game simulation starts within the computer world, and the different computer, sprites, programs, whatever they are, have to participate in the video game in accordance with the rules of the specific video game. And so they play the video game, and that's your side quest. Sometimes the virus infects the video game. Sometimes the virus is just running around doing virusy things. Look, the show doesn't have much of a plot. It's just a visually impressive show with a lot of bits. It's sort of like, vignettes. It's just like a bunch of vignettes strung together. There really isn't a central plot. There really isn't a central story arc that I can remember. And I'm not even 100% sure if there are consequences that carry over from one episode to the next. I don't remember. I just remember watching the show because it was visually impressive, the CGI graphics. I am a fan of CGI, by the way. I love computer graphics. And I am a fan of the early 90s computer culture and aesthetic. This, visually, it looks more akin to a, PlayStation 1, N64, Dreamcast level of graphics, not, like, super impressive, but really cool at the time. Really cool at the time. I do not remember the details of this show. I do not remember the names of the characters, or who's the good guys, who's the bad guys. Here's my personal experience with this show. I watched Saturday morning cartoons because I had nothing else to do. We didn't have very many channels. By the time this show came out, we did have cable. And so I had more channels to choose from than normal, but I still had sisters, two of them who were younger than me by a lot. So they liked to keep the TV tuned to the cartoons. My older sister had already moved on to, MTV. She wasn't watching cartoons anymore. I was right in the middle. I was transitioning away from cartoons because I wasn't a big fan of them to begin with. I liked some, but for the most part, I just didn't enjoy animation that much. So I was already shifting to Power Rangers and Cyber Squad and, The Secret World of Alex Mack and, stuff like that. Hey Dude, Clarissa Explains It All, etc. I was already moving away from cartoons by the time this show came along. But I was also knee-deep in Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, the 16-bit era. I was obsessed with video games. I went to the arcade all the time. I read the magazines all the time. I knew that the PlayStation and the Virtual 64, whatever it was called, were coming. They were coming out. They hadn't come out yet. So I was very aware of CGI graphics, at the time referred to as SGI graphics, because it was Silicon Graphics Integrated, I think, or something like that. A lot of people there were a lot of confusing and conflicting terms for this computer graphics. But anyways, I was obsessed with computer graphics. I wanted to see more of it. So when this show came on the scene, I watched it. I didn't watch it, astutely. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't like, oh, cool. I was just like, alright, put it on. Let it play in the background while I play with my toys. So my memories of the show, that's pretty much all I remember. What I've already described. Now, I know at some point in time, Netflix or Hulu or somebody, I don't remember who, did I use the term reboot of the reboot, that didn't get well received. And because I was not a tremendous fan of this cartoon to begin with, it was something I just put on to have something on, I have no interest in the reboot of Reboot. I know that's a weird turn of phrase. I have no interest in it, so I'm not going to watch it because it's like, whatever. But I guess it's out there. It's a thing. Now, I know Reboot has its fans, and I wish I was more, aware of what was going on with Reboot so I could talk about it more, like the story, the characters, the plot, etc., because I really can't, because it just was noise. It was just something I put on for the visuals. It was a pretty show. I was just mesmerized by the visuals, the graphics. I didn't care about the characters or the story or anything else. Everything I've told you was all I was able to glean from it. It was like, okay, this I guess is what the show is, ? And that's it. That's the extent of my knowledge and experience with Reboot. I do not currently own any toys from the franchise, but there's at least 2, maybe 3 toys from the cartoon that are on my list of toys I'd like to get someday. And I have seen those action figures for sale on eBay, so maybe one of these days I'll bite, and then I'll show those off on my other channel, Breeze Toys. For now, I'm going to ask the standard question, did you even watch Reboot? And if you did, what do you remember of it? And how wrong am I in what I remember? Stay cool.